Hi, I'm Nate with Average Jack Archery Pro Shopping Range here in Phillipsburg, PA, and today we're going bougie. We're one sticking. If you're unfamiliar with one sticking, it is the act of taking one stick and ascending the tree like an inchworm. You literally move the stick up the tree with you as you go, using a collection of carabiners, ascenders, and other ropes. Yeah, it takes a little bit of work to get used to, but I really do think anybody can do it if you actually set your mind to it and kind of work on your flexibility a little bit. I've seen guys as big as 300 pounds all the way down to 140 one sticked effectively and kill a lot of nice deer. So this is not about this gear is the best or this is what you should do or this is what you shouldn't do in terms of gear selection. This is an API hunting stick. This is a dirt cheap stick that I've cut down from its full length and modified with an arc and cam cleat. It has a full bury 3/16 am steel rope from the Hang Free company and has a 3-step Hang Free company adjustable aider on here as well. This is a very budget friendly option. I didn't want to dive into one sticking by buying a full platform stick combo just yet last year, so I still run this with my Predator, tethered Predator platform, and it worked out really well. I killed a doe right here in opening weekend in Pennsylvania. Then I killed the biggest buck of my life, not doing the one sticking per se, but definitely doing the rappelling portion. And then I went out to the state of Indiana and shot not my biggest deer of all time, but it still was a great way to get up the tree, descend the tree very safely. And so I want to go through all of it today. The pack that I'm always hunting with is the Hickory pack from Huntworth Gear. Has a roll-up pouch strap on the bottom, which means when this stick is fully contained, I lash it right to the bottom, and I'm no wider than as you see me right now. I'm also able then to lash my Predator pack to the outside, and everything's just nice and neatly contained. I do like its waist belt, so it keeps it from shifting, because when I ascend the tree, I just ascend the tree once. I do not come back down and grab any gear. It is all way up in one foul swoop. On my Lodi backpack, or excuse me, the Hickory backpack, they do make a Lodi, which is a smaller version if you feel you don't need a waist belt. I do have a retractable gear hoist over here. So when I get to the tree, I take out that gear hoist, I clip it to my bow, and then I'm ready to start rolling. I can unclip the roll pouch, pull the stick off, and I'm ready to start climbing. I never have to shed anything in order to get where I'm going. Now, there are times where I knew if I was going to be in a real snagged up tree, there's a lot of branches and I can't shift left and right a lot easily. I do like to take my backpack once I get up there off so I can get my platform off a lot easier. If I knew that, I would sometimes unclip the Predator pack and clip it to the saddle. This tree is straight as a number 2 pencil, so I don't feel the need to do that. And a lot of the trees that I hunt out of look very similar to this. With one sticking, the whole premise is that you're able to do this in as few moves as possible. So it's the higher you can get this stick in the air and still be connected to your aider, makes this a lot easier. So when I'm kind of doing this, I'm kind of judging of where this is going to go. Am steel does not stretch. It has 0 stretch whatsoever. So once I get this stick on, it's not going to come down an extra 6 inches for me to put my foot in. So I'm kind of just ballparking this. In the early season, I like that lowest loop to be right around my knee. That's about my stride length. I'm 6'4". I have a pretty decent stride length because of it. But if it's a later season, I'll move it down lower because I can't move because I'm all layered up, right? For the sake of the demonstration, we'll put it lower so I can have this around my head. Most of the time, I get to the tree, unroll everything, and you want this, like I said, to be thrown up relatively high. So you want this angle in the rope anyway. You want this rope to be up and away. If it's level or down beneath, the stick's gonna have all this slack, and you don't want that. So let's see here. I'm gonna ballpark it. That's gonna be too high. That's gonna be about right. Make sure the stick is fully seated. And then because it's a one sticking stick, we're using an arc and cam cleat here. So that's like a Chinese finger trap. The more you pull that rope back through it, it's gonna cinch on it tighter and tighter. So now that it's here, before I put any weight on it, pushing the top of the stick, lift the bottom, and then grab. And like I said, there's very little cinch there. And I do wanna make sure this stick is pretty well seated on this tree. That's right around my knee. I'm gonna take the tag in. I'm just gonna loop it loosely over the top of the stick like that. It's not gonna be in my way. If you wanna make it nice and tight, you can go ahead and do that. But I don't like having it all down here in my aider, so I like to leave it pretty slack, kind of up and around here. When I'm ready to ascend, I have my lineman's belt. I will put it on once I get up there. always toe into the tree. I used to sometimes kind of put the side of my foot into the tree, and then one time I had a scary moment where the bottom of the stick kicked out. Don't want to do that anymore. I wear Kenetrek boots, which are pretty daggum sturdy, arguably the sturdiest boot out there. So when I put my toe into the tree, there is no flex in, okay, which makes it really nice. I'm about 220 pounds out of the shower, fully loaded with gear. I'm probably, with the camera gear that goes in here, at least 250, 260. So it's a lot of weight onto this, and it's really nice to have a boot that doesn't flex. I like to grab the stick to start on the shaft of the stick. I'm left-handed, so I like my left one on the bottom. Some guys will grab here and they'll grab up here, but now you're offering the opportunity for the stick to potentially kick out. And I really do not want to have a kick out, particularly when I'm going to go do a move later. So I get in the habit of doing it this way. And as soon as I get up here and my weight is now established on the stick, now I'll transfer and go here. Just climb like a ladder. And as soon as I get up here, I'll go ahead and detach my lineman's belt. You could run a Ropeman Ascender, or I have a Prusik on a tender here. A Prusik on a tender means that I can just pull the tag into this 8mm cord, and I don't need to buy a Ropeman. And as soon as I get all my weight onto the actual lineman's belt now, the tender is now slack. So it's not load bearing in any way, shape, or form. But now I'm hanging here. That feels a little low. Let's move that up. So now at this point, I'm be able to begin doing the rest of my rope situation here. Standing on top of my stick, I've been in a lot of situations actually where I've done this first move and like a deer walks in. I'm still pretty comfortable. My bow's laying on the ground, but at least I'm comfortable. You can use whatever saddle system obviously you want to do this. I like the tethered lockdown, which is now the Ultra Lock. In here I can keep 40 feet of 9mm rope. I got this from Eastern Wood Outdoors. On here I have an Ohm tether locker from Innovating the Outdoors. Kyle Skelly's a good dude. I'm gonna drop it. I have it figure eighted into itself so I can drop it to the ground. It's not gonna cause me a massive tangled mess down there. It looks a little goofy at first, but it'll work its way through. On here is a climbing rated. This comes right from Eastern Wood, is a quick link. The only thing quick about a quick link is that it comes out of your pouch quickly. The actual use of a quick link is pretty slow. And as I'm adding tension, I'm just gonna start closing the gate of that quick link. Center that up with me. Then this Ohm tether locker is the greatest thing since sliced bread, because I can put it in here and it keeps that whole situation from falling down. I think it's like 15 bucks. It is well worth the 15 bucks. At this point, I can now reach in here and I use a Mad Rock safeguard. Putting a Mad Rock safeguard on, this is not a tutorial on how to do it. Putting a Mad Rock safeguard on is not difficult. And as it's on, I'm gonna get it up around eyeball height so I can see it. Pull another carabiner, and I'm putting this through so that way the hook goes in, and that makes the gate then, when it's all through, the gate faces me. If I put it through the opposite direction, now the gate is facing the tree, and it can potentially unlock it or open it, and then I fall, right? We really do not want that. So when I go to do this, take the hook and put it through from my side, and now the gate's always facing me. You can choose how long you want your bridge. I would recommend not making it stupid long, but I don't like it so long or so short that I have this massive tag in here. So I make it, I don't know, gosh, it's probably about 14 inches away from my waist. So now this works if you've ever used a Ropeman, or if you've never seen a Mad Rock before. It works exactly like any other ascender, except it also has the ability to descend as well. We'll get to that rappelling later. Now that I'm here, I can start adding tension to that, and it's starting to bite in, it's starting to fold open, and I can start taking out tension slowly on my lineman's belt until now my lineman's belt is completely slack. I'm gonna swing down a little bit so I can pull this saddle down. And hypothetically now at this point, you're actually hunting, right? This is exactly how you'd be seated and standing on your platform, right? But we wanna make a move. Now, I used to take my lineman's belt and daisy chain it back up and keep it from swinging. But I found that sometimes you need to go around a branch, you need to adjust this, you need to tie in with your lineman's belt. So I just leave this hang here, and I find that since I'm far enough away from the tree, it doesn't come back in and clang into the stick. But a Mad Rock, I'm under full tension here. I'm gonna hold this down, and as soon as I start gating this, it's gonna start bringing me down a little bit, okay? So that's the difference between that and say like a Ropeman. The Ropeman can only go up, right, safely, whereas the Mad Rock can go up and down, all right? It's a Mad Rock safeguard. So now that this is on here and I'm definitely safe, I'm trying to figure out how far down I need to go to get to that stick. which is going to be right around probably in there. All right. Now, where you position that is a huge factor, because right now it's kind of a little to the right. I kind of want to just naturally swing to the right. So you want to keep that in mind. You don't want to try to, when you do this move, make sure that's squared up. You don't want it on one side or the other, because then you're going to try to go around the tree the longer you make this tether. All right. So this is very straightforward. This is where people all freak out. I'm sitting. If you can sit in a chair, you can one stick. This is not that big of a deal, all right? It's no different than when you're sitting in your platform and you put your knees up against the tree. Just spread them a little bit. Now, granted, I'm 6'4", I got pretty long legs, so I can get around a pretty decent sized tree. But even this one, this is a little bit smaller than a basketball here. Yeah, I'm just gonna do that, and all I'm doing is just pivoting my hips. See that? That's all I did. I'm not doing some weird core exercise. I'm not out of breath, right? I can keep talking the whole time. Reach down, and I'm just gonna pull up on the stick. Okay, now that it's free, I can go ahead and grab my rope and the stick at the same time, and I can work it up the tree if I need to, or what I prefer to do is at this point, since that stick is over there, just grab it by the rope. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, it makes this giant clanking noise. Well, if you want to reach all the way down and grab it and open the cam cleat, which I've done sometimes, there have been days where I've been, dead calm. Dead calm, or I'm in the middle of a bedding area and I don't want to make that much noise. I will actually descend as far down as possible so I can just open that up. But if I'm in a quick move, it's an early sit, I got plenty of time before they come into a feeding area or something like that, I'll just grab it like that, no problem. Now at this juncture, again, this is trying to take me this way. So I'm actually gonna let that play to my advantage. I'm not gonna try to stick the stick all the way over here. I want it to be in front of me as much as possible. And again, I'm not out of breath. I'm just sitting. Yes, I'm activating my core a little bit. Not that big of a deal. Again, I'm gonna try to throw this up as high as I can. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come away from the tree. And again, the further you get that away from the tree, or up the tree, when you first set this, the easier this is. And now the stick is set. Some guys will lean in and squish it. They'll squish their tether up against the stick and hold it there. This API climbing stick doesn't stick out very far, so it's a little bit more difficult to do that. Some of the one-sticking platforms have a deliberate groove in there to allow you to do that, particularly if that stick's a lot heavier than this one. All right, still the same premise. I'm gonna pull the bottom, and I'm gonna seat it, making sure it's square. I have a knot here I gotta deal with. I don't have the luxury of moving this rope up, so I'm just gonna be careful when I go to stand in. Now, before I start ascending, you have two options. You can just start ascending, and this rope's gonna go slack. So if you do fall, you're gonna fall at least to this level, right? Or you can pull out your lineman's belt if you want. If you're feeling kind of a cowboy, you can run it without your lineman's belt. If you wanna run it with your lineman's belt, feel free to do so. Now, with your Mad Rock, it's gonna whack off your stick if you don't pay attention, all right? So, like I said, I'm left-handed, so I like to have my left hand free, if at all possible, because it's my dominant hand. So I'll step away from the tree, holding onto the stick, so again, I can keep that tension straight down, not have any kick out, and I'm just gonna stand up, okay? Just one fluid motion, pull myself up. Now, the rope's gone slack. I like to find my other foot. Now I have 2 foot into my aider. I'm holding onto the tree with my dominant hand because it was able to let go. Now I can take my non-dominant hand underneath the tether, and that's pulling that Mad Rock away from my stick, okay? So now, if you have a lineman's belt, you gotta move it with you. It's tricky, right? Sometimes you don't really wanna do that, okay? But now that you're up here and you're established, you can get all the way up if you want. I'm gonna go ahead and install my lineman's belt. Now that I got up here, obviously my lineman's belt is installed above my tether line. And that's okay, I just undo the quick link. Again, anything but quick. And I just move it. Now I would throw it up here if I was gonna do another move, but I am already to where I'm standing, not even on the top of my stick, I am already well 12 foot off the ground. So at this juncture, realistically, this is just now, where am I going to be hunting from? Because by the time I put my platform on here, you're talking 13 foot to my platform. And 13 foot to the platform puts my head, because I'm 6'4", about 19 foot in the air, which is plenty high for me. And I got this branch to deal with and a whole bunch of other stuff. So here, just going to install it. Get my anything but quick link done. Again, ohm tether locker. Look it up, OHM tether locker. That is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Keeps that rope from falling down. Now I can pull up my Mad Rock. And again, if I'm tangled in here, I just don't care, right? This is all for me. This is about speed. And also the first time I've climbed since December, so I'll take it. I'll loosen my lineman's belt just a touch. Start adding that tension. Okay, lineman's belt is slack. Now all my weight's back on the tether. If I needed to do another move, I could go ahead and do it. Undo the lineman's belt, start the process, move this up as high as I could, but I don't need to do that. I'm now actually ready to start doing the platform seating. So having this rope like all the way down here is really inconvenient. Now that I'm at hunting height, I don't need it hanging down here anymore. Sometimes I used to have it figure eight in here and I'd pull it out as I'd go, but I found coming out of the pouch, I'd open the pouch all the way, the rope would be falling half out, all this sort of stuff as I was going through. So when I get to this point and leave a little bit of slack, I just roll it up into itself. Now that's out of the way, I give it a twist. So it's a smaller package. Again, hypothetically, you could hunt from this. Here, now I have my lineman's belt in the way. Go ahead and remove that. Again, I might need it when I get up here if I need to move my tether and the rope goes slack, so I don't daisy chain it just yet until my platform's established. Now here, again, I like to often take the backpack all the way off, but since I can reach these molly strips, the backpack's not really loaded with camera gear, I can just reach around, unclip everything. Now I use the HFAS system from Hang Free, which again is a full bury am steel. It's just like the full bury am steel that I have on my stick, although this one has a prusik on a tender. So what that allows me to do is open up the platform, wrap it around. It comes plenty long, so I'm going to actually wrap it underneath the button. And now I can hold it here with one hand while I move this prusik back. This thing is like 20 bucks, 25 bucks from the Hang Free company. It's some of the best money I ever spent. Since it's a prusik on a tender, just like my lineman's belt, when I go to install this, all I have to do is just cinch it with one hand. That's it, right there. Now it's not installed yet, it's not bitten all the way in, but now that it's on here, now it's not gonna fall. I can go ahead and take out the rest of the slack. It's wrapped around twice, which makes it really nice on the prusik. Push down, a little too far push down, cam the platform over, and that thing is rock solid. Now I have it here in front of me so for ease of use. It's a little bit in my way for my step, but even still, now my rope is slack, so again, lineman's belt. It's all about being tethered the whole time. Lineman's belt is tight. And now I can feel if the platform's level, if it's tilted one side, and I can move my tether and all that fun stuff. Now the neatest part about one sticking is how you get down. If you use a Mad Rock ascender like this, you can actually descend safely, just like you're Batman coming off a building. It's really cool, but you gotta be able to get your rope out of the tree. So when I get down, I start this process, right? I get off my platform, take my rope that's in here, drop it all the way to the ground, because I need that to descend. Then in here I have a piece of am steel, also from Kyle. I used to use a piece of Dynaglide to do this, but I found Dynaglide for me just always was tangled up in knots. It was really lightweight, it hurt my hands to pull on, whereas this 1/8 inch am steel is a heck of a lot nicer, at least in my opinion it is anyway. There's a hole here in the ohm tether locker, so what I do is actually loop it and then go around the tether locker, so now the rope is locked into itself here, and I don't care how hard you pull on 1/8 inch am steel, it's not going anywhere. So now when I go to get out of the tree, this is now going to be the reason or the way that I pull this off. Now I'm even going to demonstrate this because it's actually looped around this branch over here, which makes it even more difficult. But all you're going to do is just pull all the rope through it. It's not that big of a deal. So now that I'm here, I can go ahead and detach my platform, pull on that prusik there. And if you do that double wrap, in particular if the tree's small enough, taking that prusik off from Hang Free is not a problem. If it's wet and you get it, you know, super bit down, it's only wrapped around once, I find it is a bear to get off. And on here I have an S-beaner, so I can find the back side of my saddle. There's a nice big loop on the back side of this saddle on the lockdown, the Ultra Lock. Lots of other saddles have a nice big loop there, and now that platform's attached. I've also gone and used the end of the am steel, tied it off to the platform, just lowered the platform to the ground. You could do it one way or the other. Now that I'm here, I've got my weight leaned into it. I'm gonna go ahead and just get to my stick. I'm gonna start taking out pressure on my Mad Rock. And notice I'm trying to stay as perpendicular to the ground as possible. Now you probably lost me there on my descent, so I'm gonna try to demonstrate this on the ground as best as possible. When you're actually coming down from the tree, it is super important that you maintain as best as possible 90 degrees or very close to it while you're in the tree. If you're into the tree like this, it's not going to be a great descent. You want to be going this way because as soon as you get momentum, you want your momentum and your weight to be away from the tree. It's giving me a lot of room to wiggle here. The tighter you are to the tree, the harder it is to descend. So again, as soon as I'm able to push out, I get my stick detached from the tree and I lower it to the ground. The further away I can get from the tree safely, and then you can go as fast as you would like, okay? I go not very quickly, but you don't want to be stopping and starting. It's a pain in the butt to get stopping and starting. Once you get going, just let it go. You don't need to crank it open anymore. Just once you get going, come on down. And I think whether you one stick or if you use any different climbing method, I don't care what you do, sticks with aiders, steel ladder, whatever it is, descending the tree like this is inarguably the safest way I've ever gotten out of a tree, and I will never stop doing this. The Mad Rock Safeguard is well worth its weight in gold for something like this, and I've never felt more secure getting out of a tree than I have while doing this method. Try to have this rope out of my way. It's just a matter of rope management. This looks very complicated until you actually do it and you're like, oh, it's not that bad. But I know that I want to pull this rope away from that branch, so I definitely want this to be out of my way as I step back this way. Now, you can sometimes just grab this with your hand, and the further away you come from the tree, the easier this is. Now, this is going to have to pull all that rope through because it's up and around that branch. But here's my tether locker. I'm going to pull the rest of the cord through the quick link, grab the quick link so it doesn't go around the tree. You always want to attach it to the quick link side. You attach to that side, it's not going anywhere. Now, at this point, all the rope just feeds around that branch. And if you're smart about it, falls to a puddle right at the base of the tree. Again, this is all about rope management. I put all of my AM steel on this side, all of my 9 mils on that side. This is not tied, so it's just unlooping it from the tether locker. The tether locker is attached to that cord. This was the last cord, right? I'm just taking things off in the order that I put it on, right? Reverse order. First thing, the last thing on is the first thing off. I'm going to figure 8 this using my thumb and pinky, and it takes about 3 seconds. They sell spools and whatnot to do this, but I found the extra 30 seconds that it takes me to do this is not that big of a deal. Now I have it pulled off my fingers. I'm just going to wrap around the center. Kyle sells it with this nice little bungee ball, so I'll wrap that bungee around, put it around the ball. That goes in the bag. I used to try to figure 8 this, and it just became a pain in the butt. I actually found if I just do it the old-fashioned garage dad extension cord way, it's actually really not that bad, and I'll show you why in a second. Because when I take this and get it all the way to the end, just like I did when I was up the tree, if I give it a twist in either direction, usually the rope will tell you which way it wants to twist, and then pull those twists together, it actually becomes a circle. Then I'll take the quick link end, I'll wrap it around that circle, grab the tether locker, keep pulling, and then that tether locker then, I just pick into a piece of rope. So now the whole package is nice and tight, and it's all together. My platform is still connected to my saddle, so again, pull that off, lash this to the backpack, and I'm ready to get out of the woods. I lied, I'm not ready. I forgot about my stick. I told you this is the first time I've done this year. Since this is a sewn aider, it's got a lot of body to it, so it's actually really easy for me. I just take each step, put 1 on, put 2 on, put 3 on, just stack them just like that. Then I grab the ends, fold one end over, fold the other end over, hold it on one hand. Then I take the AM steel, wrap around to hold it, and I just get all the wraps. Leave myself a little bit of rope at the end to put through the cam cleat. and there's my stick. So yes, this is a little bit more complicated. A little bit. It's a lot more complicated than running individual sticks. However, I find that I really enjoy this method. It's allowed me to go in much farther, much deeper, and much cleaner. I don't have all this extra weight hanging off of me. I know they make a really lot of lightweight sticks on the market, but I was able to get into one sticking for a relatively inexpensive cost. The 9mm 40-foot rope and the Mad Rock Safeguard were the two most expensive items that I had for this one sticking method. So I would definitely try it out. That's all for my tutorial on how I one sticked last year and how I'm going to do it again this year. If you have any questions about this, saddle hunting, or anything else that pertains to bow hunting, Average Egg Archery, you can find me Facebook, Instagram, averageeggarchery@gmail.com, and of course you can always drop a comment here on YouTube. Hope you're able to get outside, enjoy the sport of archery hunting if you so choose. Definitely enjoy God's beautiful creation. Stay safe while you're climbing trees, and we'll get to see you next time.